Hello, everybody. This is Vicki Jeter, and I'm representing Louisville Center for Spiritual Living. And this video is our introduction video to our midweek inspiration. And each week, the midweek inspiration could be a little different. And so, especially with the onset of doing virtual Sundays, which is going very well for us, sometimes the midweek video will be the presentation portion of what we did on Sunday, and sometimes the midweek inspiration will be unique, done by a practitioner such as myself or one of our other practitioners, depending on what's happening and how things are changing in this very fluid environment that we're experiencing right now. So we just want to let you know that it will start with this introduction, and then just following it will be something very unique each week. And we hope you enjoy it. And if you have any questions, or if you would like to be in more consistent contact with Louisville Center for Spiritual Living, you can email me at Vicki B. Jeter, that's V-I-C-K-Y, B as in boy, J as in Jack, E-T-E-R, @gmail.com. Thank you.
So it's just here. And the candle reminds us of the one power, the one love, the presence that is with us, is us all the time. And so we open with a word of prayer. Spirit, the power that is, the love and the care, the protection and the strength. We welcome that expression as ourselves. And we look around at the faces on this phone call, and we know that each of us is a clear expression of spirit, because we are one. So we gather this morning to remind ourselves of that truth, to be encouraged and to know that there are other people who believe as we do, and there are other people who support us in our lives and in our beliefs. And we're very grateful for that. And we voice that gratitude with the words, thank you. My deepest gratitude to Spirit for all that I am and all that I have and all that I will ever be. And together we seal it. And so it is. Okay. The reading today is Tammy. Tammy, you ready? I can't see you. Anybody see Tammy? There you are. You're muted. We're working on it.
It's funny, Carolyn, because my reading today is gratitude. So it melds right into it. My reading is from 365 Days of Richer Living. This is a really old version, so I'm sure it's got a new cover now, but it's still together, and I love it. Today's reading is April 2nd, which is my mom's birthday, and it is, today I live in abundance, for God supports me in every way. I live in a universe that is God created and God sustained, and I shall never lack any good thing. His power is my power, and His love is mine to distribute in my world. My riches are of the mind and spirit, and they demonstrate for me all that I need or shall ever want. I refute all belief that I cannot afford the best. His desire for me is my everlasting good. I accept prosperity. I accept money as God in action. I accept myself as prosperity. I saturate my mind with God's prosperous ideas, and I give them full authority in my thinking to act through me. I know that I subjectively accept and that the law of mind has already moved into action and their acceptance is immediate. Today, I live in abundance, for God supports me in every way, and I appreciate the action of prosperity in all my affairs. And prosperity to you all today.
Thank you, Tammy. Beautiful. And it fits right in with my talk. I have a file, more than one, of ideas for talks. And so I was kind of stumped. Nothing was coming to me. So I got my file out and I'm looking through it. And I find this thing and I think, oh, it's on gratitude. Oh, we talk about gratitude all the time. Do I want to talk about gratitude again? And then a little voice inside my head said, can you talk about it too much? No, you can't, because it's integral to what we believe. It's integral to how we live, and it supports and inspires power in our treatments and in our lives. So I was reading, it's an excerpt from the, what is it? Oh, it's from Colin Tipping's book. Does everybody know who Colin Tipping was? Okay, that's not most people. He just passed. They're going to have his celebration of life service early next week. And was a leader in the New Thought people, like Deepak Chopra and Carolyn Mace and, what was her first name? Hayes. He knew all of these people, and he wrote some books with some of them. He wrote over 9 books, and he wrote the first one, and it then determined his ministry after that. So his first book was Radical Forgiveness. Have you heard that phrase? Okay, radical forgiveness. It was an idea that you can forgive everyone. You can have forgiveness for whatever is happening in your life or has happened in your life. And since then, some of the books he's written were Radical Forgiveness of Your Parents, your children, your office workers, your, whatever. So they've had separate books for different areas of people in our lives that sometimes ask us to be forgiving. And so his wife is Joanne. And so Colin, when he was diagnosed with cancer about 2 years ago, and I can't remember whether it was colon or prostate, but anyway, he had cancer and he started a very long journey. And he started a blog on Facebook, and he would write every day what was happening, what he was feeling, the treatments he was getting, whatever was going on, so that people could understand what he was going through in this 2-year process of letting, not exactly letting it unfold, but living it through all of the things that it comes with all the treatments and the pain and the isolation and all those things that come when you have a major illness. And so he has actually written a book, Surviving Cancer, book 1, and I'm sure there's a book 2 that will be published by his wife now that he has passed. But his wife is Joanne, and they have written books together. They lead workshops, they train trainers, they do all that in radical forgiveness. And it is something that he's got a very distinct system. He has 5 worksheets that you work on that help you get through your unforgiveness, your anger, your angst, whatever. And so it's a very detailed way, and they do train people to train others. And so it's pretty large. And they traveled a lot until the last couple of years when he got so sick. And but the story I want to tell you is Joanne read his first book, which was Radical Forgiveness. She read the book, and and said to him, where's the chapter on gratitude? And he said, well, it's in every chapter of the book. There's gratitude everywhere. And so I didn't think it needed a separate chapter. She said, well, I don't know. He said, well, why don't you write an appendix to it, and you can give them clear ideas of what it means to be grateful, to have gratitude in your life, and what it feels like and all that. And so she did. And she wrote she was teaching a workshop one night, and she didn't feel good. She was kind of down and, pressed a little and just not very happy at that time. She went into the workshop, and it was all about gratitude. And she taught it, and that was fine, and the class went fine. When she left, she still didn't feel very good. She still was sort of depressed and just, down the way we get sometimes. And so as she's driving home, she thinks to herself, I really need to practice what we just talked about. And so she began to talk about all the things that she was grateful for. She was grateful for the headlights, and she was grateful for the dark. She was grateful for the rain, and she was grateful for the car that would take her home. And she was grateful for the ability to drive, and grateful for her husband, and grateful for just everything. And she just kept going with all the things that she was grateful for. So some of the things were things that we think about our husbands or somebody special to us. But she also said things about headlights. And we don't often think about that. We don't think about the little things in our lives that are so beneficial, that we would not have the life we have if we didn't have those little trivial things, or we think of them as trivial, but they're really very important in our lives, and to be thankful for them. It puts us in a different place. And she talked about that she was doing this, and she just kept going and going, and it was 30 minutes, and she's still driving home, and it's still raining, and it's still dark, and all those things, and she feels better. I mean, she feels a whole lot better. And as she's going along, she, at about 30-minute mark, she went, I really am one with the one. I really am grateful, and I know what it is to be loved and cared for by the one. And so then she was in a kind of a singing, turn of mind or whatever, so that she was really grateful. It had a huge impact on her. And so she went home and she told Colin about it and all. But it came for her the moment that changed her. It changed her from talking about gratitude and what it could do for you to having experienced gratitude in her life to the point that it had changed how she looked at life, how she looked at herself, how she looked at God. And so people ask the question, how do you increase your gratitude? What do you do with that? How do you get more grateful? And you just talk to yourself. You talk about all the things that you're grateful for. And she talks about you practice. Everything we do is a practice, whether it's tithing or feeling gratitude or trusting our treatments or whatever it is, learning how to meditate. All those things are practices. And you learn them and do them well when you give them the time to repeat them. No matter how well they're going, you just keep repeating that particular practice until it becomes second nature. And that was for her the night that gratitude became her second nature. And she was so grateful for it. And as I said, she used it for years and years as a point of saying, okay, all right, I'm grateful. And I really feel it. And so I read that and I thought that was really cool. And I was reading along and thinking, Okay, y'all know about gratitude journals, so at least I hope you do. And saying 10 things that you are grateful for at the end of a day, before you go to sleep. When I was in the hospital, I think the third night, I couldn't go to sleep. I couldn't go to sleep. And they would not give me anything to help with that. They, yeah, they just wouldn't do it. And so I was laying there and I was thinking, what am I going to do? It's so hard to lay in a bed and not be able to sleep. And then I thought, I have done gratitude as I went to sleep before, and it has worked to calm me down. And so I'm laying in a hospital bed in one position because that was the position I found that was most comfortable. And I started being grateful for the nurses. They were wonderful. Being grateful for all the equipment that told them what they needed to know when they needed to know it. For doctors who came in, I had my doctor and then another doctor from the hospital came in, and they had the same things to tell me, but they told me in a different way. And I was very grateful for that because it helped me be clear about what was happening and what was happening to me and what I needed to do. And so I just kept on being grateful for the little things and the big things, and Bob and Tracy, and not being alone. When I think about what's going on now and the people that are in the hospital that cannot have visitors, I had 24-hour support. I mean, they're either Bob was there or Tracy was there, or they were both there. And I feel for the people who don't have that. It's not easy being sick, but when you feel so lonely and there's no one to talk to that other than a nurse, it's got to be really, really hard. So I was grateful for their being there and worrying about me and doing everything they could to help me. So gratitude I know, is a power. It's a power that permeates all the other powers. It is something that will bring us a new thought, will bring us a new attitude, bring us closer to knowing the oneness that we are. And so I've really, you can't talk about gratitude too much. So that's why we talked about it. But I also wanted to share a story. It came from, and I've quoted this book before, The Art of Possibility. And the lady that is Rosamund in her name, and she is a therapist and has been for many, many, many years. And early on in her career, she was a therapist at a facility for children that had severe mental challenges, schizophrenic, other things that were really hard for people to deal with and hard for the children to deal with. And so she was a therapist there, and she enjoyed being that. And she had a little 9-year-old girl, Vanessa. Vanessa was artsy, she could draw, she loved to do that. And she had one thing that she did that was unique. She would strike a pose and she would hold it until somebody figured out who she was and what she was feeling. And she could hold it for hours. And so one of the examples that she gave was a gazelle who was sad. It took the rest of the people in the trying to figure that out, a gazelle. I keep trying to figure out how she conveyed a gazelle being sad. But anyway, she did. So one day they were starting their therapy together, and she took a pose. And the psychologist thought, okay. And she was standing there like a queen, and her therapist said, "Your Majesty, can I help you?" And the little girl said, "Go to the grocery store and get what I want." That's all she said. So the therapist was like, do I go to the store and buy something? And how do I know what to buy? But she did. She went over to the little local grocery store and she stood around and she looked at cookies and candy and thought, no, she really doesn't like sweets that much. She doesn't eat junk food. And she looked at all the soft drinks and thought maybe a soft drink would do it. And no. And she walked down the canned aisle and she saw a can of Dinty Moore beef stew. And for some reason, it kind of lit up for her. And then she thought, it can't be that. She's a 9-year-old girl. She doesn't want stew. And so she walked around the store a little bit more. And finally she said, that's what keeps coming up. So she bought a really big can of Dinty Moore beef stew in a sack and took it back across the street. As she came in, the little girl said, what did I want? And she handed her a sack. And she reached in and pulled out this Dinty Moore stew. And she said, how did you know that's what I wanted? How did you know that was it? And the therapist was like, I don't know, you know. But that determined their relationship going forward because they were connected. If she could come up with what the little girl wanted, then they were connected and they could trust each other. And that little girl could trust her. And so they became not patient and therapist, but they became we together. Two people connected and connecting. Right now we're living in a time when we're being told to separate and all, and it's beginning to lift, but it's been a really interesting time to, you know, purposely cut ourselves away from physically being with people. But and then when we talk about we're all in this together, are we? Do we have as much sympathy for other people as we do for ourselves and our friends? Are we seeing this as them and us? There's a lot of that, you know. They didn't do it right, or they did it, you know, that kind of thing. And that's not going to build our feelings of being together. So just to think about, how do we connect one-on-one? How do we bring about that feeling of knowing that we each are part of the other and they are part of us? So we're going to do a meditation, and I invite you to close your eyes, put your feet on the floor, put your hands in your lap, what we call a position. And all you're doing is relaxing. You're putting your body straight, your spine straight, and you're letting each thing, you know, like your shoulders and all, rest gently on what they're supposed to rest on. You know, your spine is pretty straight and your head rests on it, and your feet rest on the floor, and your arms rest with the hands in the lap. And so we're just taking that position of relaxation. And we breathe into it. And we know that the first we all are and we all desire is spirit and I. When we fully get that we, then we can take that to all the others in our lives. We are in this all together. Whether we see it or not, or accept it or not, we are. We are in life together. The only thing that can separate us is our belief system. And the only way to change a belief system is to really think about it, to really consider, is it what I truly believe? Do I want to live my life in love, or do I want to live my life in fear? And we breathe and we rest and we listen. So we are grateful for the time to sit for just a moment to really focus on the we of spirit and ourselves. We are truly grateful with our ability to do so, and with the desire in our heart to do so. And so we let it be. We call it good and very good. And so it is. Okay, this is where we get to share. So as I was saying, it's time for prosperity, and that's Tammy.
Vernon, I hope on the chat screen you're going to put up the address and website that people can make donations to help us during this kind of trying time right now. I know we're all grateful, but we certainly would appreciate your support. And I'm going to say my affirmation. It's just a one-liner. I've said it before, and then I'll do it again, and you all can join me. So my affirmation today is, if the only prayer I say today is thank you, it is enough. And if you'll join me, if the only prayer I say today is thank you, it is enough.
It is enough.
And thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tammy.
Vicki, I believe.
Yeah, you can go to the chat screen on the bottom, and Vernon's put everything up, the link and the address. So thank you all.
Oh, okay.
Thank you, Tammy. That was beautifully done. Simple, succinct, and effective. We're learning so much by all of this. So before I offer our closing treatment, last week we had mentioned that we're in the process of moving out of storage for 300 Spring, and we have put out there a couple of items that might need homes, and we just want to let you know that Spirit has taken care of all that, and thank you for your energetic support in our coming to closure with the stuff that we had in storage. As of now, that phase of what we've been doing is effectively complete. There's a couple of action steps to be taken place, but it's all good. So we wanted to let you know since we had mentioned it. And I don't think we have any other announcements for this week. Is anybody aware of an announcement that we're not thinking of? Okay, in that case, it is so much my pleasure to remind us to practice as we practice and know what we know, beginning by taking a pausing breath. That even when our back isn't against the wall, even when life is good and we have connection and we have inspiration and laughter and tears and sharing and we're vitally alive, we remember to stop and pause, just like driving a manual transmission. It's just a good, healthy rhythm to naturally, intentionally drop down to a point of relative stillness. And so we breathe, and we breathe together. And I recognize the one that is the divine, omnipresent, creative source of all that is every breath, is every stillness, is every being, every relationship, every dynamic, and every dimension. There is nowhere that divine source, by any name, by any reference, is not. It is the all that is all. Thusly, I am that, as is each person within the sound of my voice, fully and completely the I am that I am, in, as, and through each individual, according to their understanding, their way. in mind, heart, and soul. And from this alignment, I realize in my experience, I embody the word either spoken or intended in, through, and as each person here, holding the doors and windows open, that it is already done according to their experience, and that anything called for to bring about the intentions and the directives that are within this group right now literally walks up and introduces itself in plain English. I know and declare right here and right now that as we know we are one, that unity in community is brought forth as self-evident for ourselves and for everyone who might be seeking that which we express and experience. And that as LCSL is a beacon of light, that beacon shines forth to extend as light is everlasting for our entire world. I know that as we are lifted up, all is lifted up unto us. And for that, there is gratitude. And I simply say, thank you, presence of life. And I release it, I let it be, and so it is.
Yes.
And now Vernon is going to shift us into our closing song.
In the chat.
And the words to the closing song are in the chat. So if you'll go down to your toolbar and click on the little thing that looks like a cartoon bubble, then the words to the closing song will come up.
And we'll keep the screen for you to see everybody.
Oh, and the reason why we're doing that, rather than shifting it into a slide mode like we did the opening song, this way we'll be able to see each other as we experience the closing song. Oh, that makes Tammy happy.
I'm working on it.
I am peace, I am joy, I am love. I am peace, I am joy, I am love. I am in harmony with everything, it's a part of me. I am peace, I am joy, I am love. You are peace, you are joy, you are love. You are peace, you are joy, you are love. You are in harmony with everything, God is all you see. You are peace, you are joy, you are love. We are peace, we are joy, we are love. We are peace, we are joy, we are love. We are in harmony with everything, God is all we see. We are peace, we are joy, we are love. We are peace, we are joy, we are love.
Okay, it's just a quick reminder of our blessings that we've been doing different ways. We intertwine our fingers because we know that we are all one and that we are intertwined together. And then we bow. The spirit in me recognizes and celebrates the spirit in you. And we are one. Now go out there and have a good time.